So last class I was just talking about the
Global
scopes
value.
of the data. Yes,
Yes.
scopes of the data. So just you have to categorize the data, means where you can store the data. The main thing is about whenever you talk about any data, where is it stored in the software, the space or the scope. Means where is it loaded in the Python interpreter, which partition of the Python interpreter. So Python interpreter is partitioned into three major areas. As I said, one area is called as global area, second area is called as a heap
Heap
area, and the third is called as the
stock stack.
stack area. So this is the area where only you have to blindly understand that objects are here. Objects are created in this region only. Objects means what? Like this, direct constant information. Whatever you're saying, no, like this, or you're saying something like this. When you write all these things, these are objects only of the some or the other type. So they'll be always found in which area? This area is called as heap area. Heap is just like a cloud. See, when you take a pic, it's going into the drives, clouds, no? So when you take a pic, it's going into automatically in your Google Drive. It's like that only. So whenever you write anything, if you just say print 5 plus 4, this is there in the heap only. Means where is that data present is actually means heap area of the Python interpreter. Clear? So that's about the objects. So irrespective of the reference variables, objects are always found in the heap area. Now references. I can store a reference either in this area or in this area, because whenever you talk about a constant is the data loaded inside some region. As of now, this region is heap area. So it's the data found in some location, which will be found at some location, which will have some address. So this address, we are trying to save it in a variable so that I can call this information again and again. So that's what is called as a reference variable. So whenever I say print A, it's always taking you to the location where your actual data is present. So A is a variable pointing to this object, which can change. If you again say A is equal to 25, again a new object is created somewhere else, some other new location, and this A will be now pointing to this location. That's what we are trying to do. So this variable is important so that we can reach to the data. So this reference variables can be stored in two scopes. One is as of now, generally till now what we did was a global scope. Another was with the local scope. We did only till now these two things. That means in the global area, it will be stored directly in the global scope. Another is in the function area. Wherever the function is running, it will be loaded in that area. That's called as a local scope. But other than this, we have two more scopes. One is called as the class scope and another is called as the instance scope. Means this scope is also found inside the global area only, but it will be like inside a class block. So inside global area, for each class, there will be a block created, reservation of a block of memory. So per class, one block of memory. Same way, instance. It will be talking about in heap area, some block of memory is reserved for objects. So that means we are talking about the objects. Those objects are always found inside the heap area only. So totally we have four scopes where we can store the data. References. The references can be stored either directly in the global, that means inside a file location, or we say inside a function location, or inside a class location, or inside a instance location. Totally four areas. So when we write that concept practically, if I just type a is equal to 10, this is global. If I define a function and in this, if I declare a variable of something, this is a local variable, local to function block, this function stack. And this is global in the global area. Global variable found in the global area. And similarly, I can just now write a class as I said last time. So if it's class test, and in that if I have some c is equal to 30, then this is nothing but a class variable. found inside a global area, again inside a class block. So inside global area only it's found, but it's called only with the class name. But this global area generally is related to the file. We can call this with the directly the file name dot the variable name. This one we can't call. There's no way to call this variables. So can't call from anywhere else. As only the function can call it within the function only, nowhere else. It cannot be called outside the function. So if you want to call, we have to just call here only. So it's not visible from outside. And what about this is? It's about the class block. So whenever you want, we have to just print it if it's outside, like the file name dot the class name dot the C variable. So before that, we have to just import the file. Okay. So this is the three scopes we are doing. Now there is a one more scope called as instance variable. So the variables can be or again of instance variables, which are nothing but the variables found inside the heap area right now, or we'll say part of an object. Now these informations are associated with a special keyword called self. There's a keyword called self. See, the class variables are always associated with class name. But here, whichever are instance variables, we'll talk it with the keyword as self right now. So see, they are also found inside the class. They are also defined inside the class, but with self keyword, not directly. So if I'm writing a class student, and if I'm saying, see, not directly here, I can just say student ID. Now, if I say something like this, it's a student ID of a class type. Now, if I say college number, or we say college ID, or college contact number, or college mobile, something, or college name. So college name of a student is same for all the students actually. You can have hundreds of students in the college, but the college name will not change here. So if there is a college name here, so this would be same for all the students. So this information is more or less belongs to this particular software coding, this particular class coding. So this information is actually called as class data. But this is not about a software. This ID does not belong to only this program. Whenever a real student exists in a college, somebody takes an admission, only then this number is allotted to some student. So it's not just one number allotted to everyone. So only when we have n students, we'll have n IDs, and every ID will be specific for each student. But all of the students will use which name? Same college name. So this information is for every student, but this information is for a particular specific student. So the other information which you're writing, we have to actually write it inside some functions only. So let us say set student ID, one small function we just want to write it, just to give the number to a particular student. So now assuming that I want a particular student, and we'll just give it as an ID as self keyword dot stid 100, or like whatever you pass to this particular function. So if I pass a particular number to it, I can allot the same number to this particular object. So here self is acting like your own self. So where did I use this keyword? That is more important. It is written inside a class only. So self is a keyword which will be always used inside a class to directly talk about its own self. Like I'm a okay, you are a student. So whenever you talk about yourself, you'll say, I'm a student of so and so college. I'm studying this semester. I've scored this score. So you will talk about it with respect to some student only. So student is some class, and in reality we'll have objects about this particular student right now. So only when we have written a class, we can talk about a real student. Just think, if I'm writing here as a fruit, you can just imagine it. It's not a real one. So you'll imagine a picture in your mind that there is a fruit, okay, something like this. This is what is a fruit. But if you keep a physical fruit in front of you, physically, one apple or something is in front of you. So can I say it is also imagination or it's real as of now?
Real, ma'am.
So the real one is termed as an object, which is nothing but will use some physical space. No, when I say I have some 10 apples, I'll use some space in somewhere or the other place. We'll use some physical space. But if I say imagination, in imagination, I'm imagining 10 apples. Will I use that much space to store imaginary apples?
No, ma'am.
No. So here, the class is like nothing but an imagination of an object. Or we say virtual, it's not a real concept, it's virtual uh, vision of an object, of a real object. So whatever is real object can be created later, it's just a complete description of it, or I can say it's nothing but it describes everything about a real object. So if I'm saying this is an apple, because already we have learned what, how does it look like. Apple is a fruit which comes in this shape, which comes in these colors. Because of that knowledge only, we are able to say it's an apple. So class is just a virtual concept. It's just a description. I'm saying it's virtual, it will not use that much space, but I can talk about objects which are real, which will use some physical space right now. But this classes will not use much space. Just for the description, they will use little space of it. So that is like class. So class is nothing but description which is given only once. So if I have to define what is an apple, I'll write the definition only once. For 10 apples, will I write 10 times what is the definition of apple? Should I write for each apple one new definition?
No, ma'am.
No. So we'll give the definition only once. So that means the classes are defined only once. Each class is defined only once. Defined means you're writing it. Defined only once. And what should we write inside this class? All the features, or we say properties. So what are the properties of an apple? We have to mention inside that. And also, what are the uses? That means functionalities. Or what are the operations we do with that? So if apple is there, what do we use that apple for? What does it provide? What are the minerals? Everything, every detail about it, we can mention using some function. View fruit properties, or view the fruit color. So we want to just go for some operations. So this is a description about an object's features and functionalities. Just if I take one more thing here, is that just like a ATM card is there. So if I have written a class of ATM card, so I can just give you the details about something like every ATM card will have a card number, or is in this name of a person, or it's associated with some account number. It'll associate some balance. It'll have some CVV number or a bank name. So many properties. These are all called as properties associated to a ATM card class. Means I'm not talking about this with respect to one ATM card. So in general, ATM card means you'll get a vision. It'll have some card number. Somebody's name will be there. It'll have some expiry date. So it'll have a card number. It'll associate. So if you don't look at this part, it's not visible on the card at least. So bank name is visible on this. So the type of the card is visible on the card. So a lot of details are found on the card itself. So these are all called as properties, information associated to that. These are visible ones, but there are some invisible properties associated to each card. The balance connected to that particular card, or we can say the account name associated with that, account number, account name, on whose name this card is registered. Okay, and what is the PIN number associated with that. So there are some properties which we can directly take the card and see those properties. But there are some properties on the card which we don't see them. It is in the background. So card is just a physical copy of the actual software only. So somewhere when we insert a card, it is reading all the information out of that card. So software will read the information about a particular person when the card is inserted. So definitely these features are all present associated to every card. So all these features are called as properties of a class. So I can say class ATM card will definitely deal with a lot of properties, but all these properties are not same for all the ATM cards. So some are same. Some properties are same for all the cards and some can be different for each card right now. Like if the same bank is generating some cards for them, the bank name would be always the same, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a similar one. Similar one talks about the class property. That means your ATM, ICICI ATM cards, general property is this property. Now, other than that, what is different here? The card number. Is it also same for all the cards or
No,
it's
ma'am.
different?
Card numbers are different.
So
CVVs are
unique.
different.
Yes, so unique number. So these numbers are called as objects properties. So some properties are considered as class properties and some properties out of them are called as objects properties. Fine. So class properties are nothing but they can be written already inside the software. They are already mentioned, found in the class program and can be used same, the same for all the persons, all the cards. All the cards means I'm talking about objects now. All the physical cards are objects. The software which is developed for designing a card is a class right now. So card number is a feature which is associated to each card object or it's like a card software. Will that card number be there inside the card software or it will be belong to a card only?
It belongs to card, no, ma'am.
Means it's a physical property, no? It's a
Yes,
physical.
ma'am.
So that's called as objects property. So same way CVV number. So CVV number also talks about.
Card.
So that is also the
Object.
objects property. So whichever exists when the card is created. See, if there is no card created, no CVV. If there is no card created, no card number. But even though there is no card generated issued to anybody, they can have a card bank name, no? Generally, it's
Yes,
not
ma'am.
imprinted, but that information is there inside the system, softwares. So same way, the type of the card, everything is there in the software. But what is not there inside the software? Card numbers are all not there. CVV number is not there. Expiry dates, expiry through and when those all those things are not there in the software. They will be feed it. Whenever a person applies for a card, they will set these values and then generate a card for them. Right? The name of the customer. Customer name also is not there on the card initially. So inside the software, they cannot save somebody's name there. So customer name is also an instance property, objects property. So now I'm just trying to differentiate two property. One is called as class property and another is called as instance property. So this is dealing with objects and the first one is dealing with classes. Okay. The first one, the class properties are already there when you write a class. Exist when you write a class. But the instance properties only exist when we create them. Only when we create physically an object, a new object. This is already there in the written program. So this is like, and it's called with class name dot the variable name. But for this, we have to create an object and then call with the object reference. Created object. Now, just for a small example, I'll say here, what did I do here exactly in these two lines?
created new list, two
Objects only,
different,
no?
two
Yeah, two
different.
objects. So now, if I say the length of D1, it's a property, like just like information. Is it
Yes.
same for both or it can be different for both?
Now it is different.
Yes, it can be same or it may not be same. It depends upon the elements right now. So I'm able to track out something about the object with the references. Now, if I say ID of D1 or ID of D2, what about this?
Same
Both
list.
of them is same ID, addresses.
No, addresses it's not same, ma'am.
Addresses are different, no?
Different. Yeah. I
That
thought you were
means,
asking about type. Yeah.
yeah. So this addresses are nothing but objects are created in unique addresses only. In unique addresses. Okay. But now if I say type of D1 and type of D2, what will you get as an output?
List.
So it will give us,
Same. Class. Class
so
list.
this name, the class name is same for all of the objects, whether I create one object or 10 objects. Are these are
Yes,
all
ma'am.
objects belong to the same class called list? So
Class
that
list.
means class list is only one, no? In your system, they have designed this class only once. One class called as list. Okay. But based on that class, can we create n number of objects? Can we create n number of objects of it like this? So class is one, objects can be any number of things. Now, if I say that means unique information or we say D of 0, is it same for both?
No, ma'am.
So they are unique information here. So whatever we do, now if I say D1 dot clear or we say D1 dot append, so these functions I'm calling in which way right now? I'm calling via which object? It's through class name or through the object name?
Class.
This one. Append D1. Did I call list dot append or did I say D1 dot append?
D1 dot append.
So what is D1? Is it a class name or it's a name of an reference name of an object?
It's reference name of an object.
So that means it's nothing but an object, some address. In
Object.
that address, I'm trying to append some data, new data. So it's nothing but a function belongs to what class or function object.
Object.
Yes. So this append is an objects function, or we say instance function, or exactly saying instance method. Now, functions already we discussed till now. Functions are like just length function, chr function. Then they does not belong to any one particular thing. You can use it any way you like. It's independent. These are functions. They are not associated to any one type of data. It can be used with any type of data as far as it's correctly used. Fine. These are general or independent functions. But when I'm saying append function, or we say clear function or insert function, what are these functions? Do we call them directly like this or we have to call them like this?
With an object list, object reference point, and then to what
Yes.
the function.
Whatever it requires, we have to pass. At the index number 1, I want to pass 56. And I want to append some new data, some 70. So it's up to you. So these functions are not general functions. These are called as instance functions, or we say instance methods. So to call them, what we need to do right now, we must have an object and call them with the object reference. Okay, is that clear? Now, if I want to do, these are the predefined classes. So whatever we are doing D1, so I will say D1 is an object of which type? I think Balaji has joined today late.
Yes, ma'am. He
Good evening,
texted.
Balaji. Yes. So, good evening, Balaji. Today you're a little late. So, anyhow, we'll be winding up within 10 minutes. You have to refer to the recordings after the class. Just you can go through. This is a topic tomorrow also. Again, I'll explain this topic. So, because this is the only topic which will be little confusing. Afterwards, again, everything will be easy. Okay. So now just listen whatever I'm explaining as of now. So now D1 is an object of a predefined class. So if I'm saying D1 is equal to something like this, so I can say no, D1 is an object of which type? A
Oh,
predefined class, or we say data type called as list, right? This is a predefined. So list is a predefined data type or a predefined class. So similarly, what I want to do, we just want to create our own classes also. We want our own classes. So classes means nothing but they describe some object, some real-time object only. Now just think like a real-time person. I want to just store some information about a person in my system, like your students right now. Let us say I just want to store some details about you in my system so that I can contact you back. So, which details about you I need to track out, I need to save, maybe at the most. See, I may have 10 students today. So, about each student, what should I at the most save? Some name, some mobile, maybe the course, or maybe the batch name or the batch number, something, batch ID. At least if I give this, can I find out which student from which batch? I can at least identify you people, no?
yes, ma'am.
So these four information, I want to group it together about which person? A student. So these four informations are not totally different. These all information belongs to what? A student only. So I want to develop a software through which I can track your information. I can take your information, save it in the system, and whenever I want, I should revert back to your information. So, like this, not only one student, I may be able to create multiple students in my system and save individual informations in one object. So, to talk about a lot of students in my system, I should first design a template of a student or design a class about a student. So, class is nothing but I just want to describe what information about a student we want to store in your system. So what are the four information I want to initialize is? For initializing these information, I'm just trying to write a function and inside this, I'm initializing them with a keyword called self. Now I'm defining the function also with the same keyword so that now it becomes associated as an objects function. Now, whenever any function takes the first argument as self, that means it's a function of which type? Instance type. So this is called as instance method or function, and the variables which are given with self keyword are called as instance
Instance variable.
variables. Fine. Because why I'm taking it as an instance? If you two are the students, you two have your own name. Everybody have your own self name. Everybody has their self individual mobile number, but they're not common mobile number. Similar way, I can even talk about your individual. Okay, the course. Maybe now you are the two, but there are some more students. So each student can join for a different course. That is also different here. Same way, each student can be present in different batches now. So each student can talk about their own batch ID. Many students' batch ID can match, but everybody's batch ID is not same. No? So can I say that these informations belongs to every individual student? Every student can have their own name, own mobile. They can join for individual courses, same or different. They can have the same batch ID or different batch ID. Can I do that?
Yes, ma'am.
So now just think, and student will do a normal operation called as what? Student wants to register. So I'm talking about all these things in relation to a student. So I wrote a program on a student, and what should student do to join in a batch or something first? He should register. So while registering in an account somewhere, he has to tell their name, has to type their mobile number, maybe the course which he wants to join to, and in which batch number, maybe in which batch he wants to join to. So I need to just give some information here. So this function of registration, it's nothing but like you're filling a registration form. In that form, you have to type your name, your mobile number, and the course you have to select, and you have to select the even the batch, which batch you want to prefer, like 7 to 8 batch or 6. If I give you 3 slots, you can choose among them. So I'm just saying here batch ID. Every batch can have a number allotted to it. So once you give some information, forget about these three now. These now, if you just look at this part, whenever you define any function and you take some variables here, these variables are called as which type of variables? Are they global or they local or they are class? What kind of
Local.
variables are they? These are local to add function, right? So same way when I declared 4 variables here, name, course, batch ID, and mobile, they are which type of variables?
Local.
Local. So are these going to be permanently present in the system or only during execution of this function they'll be alive?
During execution, ma'am.
So whatever you pass, how do we call that function? If you have defined that function, how do we run that basically? If it was just a general function, it was not a class function, how will we generally call? Register, and in the brackets, what should you pass?
Self name, mobile, name,
Yeah.
name, mobile, course, batch number.
Okay. So just like, okay, course Python and Py 14. Okay. Same way, if somebody else also has to register, they also have to do that. This is the way we will call. Fine. So like this, whoever registered, they have to select this, no, which batch they want to join. Is it right?
Yes, ma'am.
So now when I pass this, are they permanent information or they'll be lost immediately after registration process is over?
They
These
will be
four
lost.
information, they'll be there or they'll be
They will be
lost.
lost.
They'll be
Yes.
lost, ma'am.
So what should we do? We have to save it somewhere. Now forget that there is a student and I gave some variables here. What are these variables now? If I just declare here 4 variables.
That are global number. If you
Yes.
giving
Yes.
the
If
top
it's
of
a
the definition,
yes. Now I'm just writing one here. Fine. So name one, mobile one, and course one, and batch one are which type of variables here?
global.
These are all global variables. So as of now, for this time period, I'm just making them as global. So now where should I save this entered data? I should just save it in which variables? Global variables. Generally, I have to say something like this, no? Name one is equal to what I have to save. Can I say this? Means which variable I'm saving? This name information I'm saving in which variable? The
Name one.
global, the global variable.
Okay, ma'am.
Fine. So when I do this, I'm able to save the registered data. Whatever you enter, I'm able to save. But where did I save it? In which variables? In these 4 variables only. So in global section, if I have declared 4 variables, in these 4 variables, how many students' data we can save? If I have taken 4 global variables, no? In each variable, how many names we can store?
One name.
One name only. So in this 4 variables, we can only store how many students' details?
One. One
One student
student.
only. So just thinking that this was a global function and Vinita registered first. So when Vinita registered first, whose information is found inside this global variable?
Vinita's information.
Yes, yes. So now, if I'm writing this function just to test, so now if I just print the name and mobile and all those things, name one, mobile one, not name, name one, mobile one, because this is global one, no? It's one and patch one. So this will print if I'm calling this operation after registration. So whose information is printed now? Only the person Vinita's details. Again, after displaying this, again, if somebody does the registration and they provide their data, now whose data will be found inside these four variables?
The second person's.
So Vinita's is already erased, no? It's replaced by Balaji's details. Fine. So now if you display, you'll not find this Vinita's anymore. So when I write such a program with global and functions, global variables and functions to do registration, display, change password, whatever you write, is it or can we use this program to write or register many people at a time? Or it can only hold one person's data at a time?
At a time, one person.
One person. Can you see all the people's detail at once? I want to check every student's data.
No,
They
ma'am.
registered. They already registered and went away. Now, can I see their data, all of their data?
No, ma'am.
No.
It
So
will
if
be
I,
lost once after
yes,
executed.
only the latest one will be there. Whoever registered last only, their data is saved there in the system. So I want the procedure is same, whether first person register or second. Only how many informations we have to save? Only four information. Through this process only, I should be. The procedure is common here. Same procedure has to be followed by every student. So I'm trying to wrap up all these information and the functions inside what right now? A class called as student. Now I'm not taking these variables as which variables? Global variables. I'm taking it these, I'm removing from here. Neither these are global variables nor these are class variables. If I declare any variable here, it's called as a class variable. I'm not declaring anything inside the class directly. So I want to declare these variables through a registration process only. I want to write a function, but it's not a global function anymore because I wrote it inside which location? Inside which block? A class block. So can I say the function which is outside a class and inside a class, are they both same?
No, ma'am.
This is a global function and now this is a, again I will write, this is global or not class function. If I write a function inside a class,
Class function, ma'am.
Class only.
class, yeah, we have to say class method. Whichever functions are written inside a class, those are called as methods. Whichever functions are written outside, they does not belong to a class, those are free words. We say they are global functions. Those which are written inside the class, they are called as class methods. Now, this is a slight difference. If you look at this function and this function, what's the difference here? Okay, let me write one more here. Display 2. So what is the difference in both the methods?
Maybe in class method only one student can be saved, and instance method the other person also, like
Yes, each
one after.
instance. Yes. So this is called as instance method. Every person will have their own information to display. This method is called as class method. We'll see the difference anyhow. So whichever method or a variable is used along with which keyword? Self. It's like you open a browser, you are opening a registration form. So it is your registration form. Again, Balaji opens another registration form. So that registration form is only registering who? Balaji. So both of you are you using the same form or two different physical forms? Both will you get the same page?
Two different forms. Same
Yes,
page,
two
but two
different.
different. Yeah.
Yeah, two different instances. No, twice it is loaded. No,
Yes, ma'am.
physically they are two different copies. So if I want to get two different registration forms to be displayed on the screen, I should make this functions as what? Self keyword. Means whoever registers, they'll have an individual form for them. So if I don't use them, what happens? Same form is opened. Even if 10 people wants to register, only one can register at a time. You're trying to open something, it's not opening in a multiple copies, like a dialog box. See, if you have opened 10 notepads, can you save 10 more notepads at a time simultaneously? Is the dialog box duplicated, or only one dialog box can be opened in your system at a time? Save as dialog box, like we say, no, save as options, we say, no. So
Yes, ma'am.
can we save 10 files at a time, or only one after the other only?
One after the other.
One after the
So
other.
that's only one dialog box. Means that's like a class function. That's like a class. I cannot create multiple copies of it. Now calculator. You have that program installed in your system. Is it opened only one calculator, or I can open 10 calculators also?
They can open 10.
Yeah, so that's not a class. That's an object. What we see physically, every physical thing is a new object. So the thing which cannot be opened twice or thrice or something, only single copy, those things are associated to what? Classes. Any data, any function, anything which is dealing with class, it's only one single copy. But anything, any variable, any function, any picture, anything which we can open multiple times, which we can create multiple times, are called as what? Instance information. Means instance means a physical thing. See, instance means just like, I'll just show the difference of instance and class. Now these diagrams are like classes. Should I draw rectangle tens on this particular tool? To draw 10 rectangles, do I need that picture 10 times here, or only one picture?
10 times I have to do it, ma'am.
No, no, not here, on this tool, here.
Okay.
They have
What?
drawn it only once, no?
Yes, ma'am.
So by this, if I'm selecting and doing, what am I trying to do?
Okay.
So what we have in the tool, the design of a rectangle, how the rectangle should be drawn. See, I'm just dragging and dropping, it's giving the same picture, no? Same object. Similar, size is different, but are they all rectangles?
Yes, ma'am.
So that means how this is drawn, they have already inserted in this program. It's already saved inside this graphical page. So because of that, when I'm selecting and drawing, the size may vary. But is the objects different here? These two, three. So the class, the design is given only once, no, in the system. How to draw a circle, they have written only once inside the
Yes.
paint. But with that design, I'm able to create multiple objects.
Ma'am.
These
Yes,
are
ma'am.
these are objects. These are objects. All are actually objects. But all are objects of the same type or different type.
They're of same type, ma'am.
Which same type is this?
Rectangles.
Is
Acha.
this same?
No, they are different.
Yes. So I can say this class is one, but how many objects I have created for it?
7,
One,
maybe.
two, three, four. These are all objects. How many circle objects we have created right now?
3.
But how many circle classes are there inside this paint program?
1.
Yes. So they would have written a class called circle. How to draw this, the logic they would have given here. So that means they have written the class as functions only once. And by that, what is the picture we are going to get? Same way, they would have written the diagram of the structure of what? Rectangle also. How should it open? How should it we draw that? How should we change it? They would have written the software only once. After writing it, can I create multiple circles? See, this is the concept of object creation. Like how we say in a int function, we say no int like this. So what is it called? We are creating an object of what? Int type. If I say str of 5, what happens with that?
It will be printed. String.
A string object is created no with this information.
Yes, ma'am.
Same way if I set tuple of and I pass something like this, what happens with this?
Those will be printed with the bracket. Same.
It will be creating an object of what?
Two, three. List. Tuple.
It has created an object of tuple type. This is an object of which type?
List. List.
So, how did we create a tuple object? We can create a tuple object with this function. I was saying this was a function, but this is the concept of object creation. So, if you want to create an object, we can create an object like this. This is the class name. Class name, round brackets. If I just mention this symbol, it's like you're creating which object? Object of that particular
Tuple.
class. So if this is a class and I'm using round brackets, means what I have done with this statement? Object of which class is created?
The circle.
Circle. So if I say R1 is equal to rectangle, if I just write this terminology, what does it mean? We have created an object of which class?
Rectangle.
You have done predefined class objects like this. Will I get an empty list by this? Check that. Will I get an empty list or not by that function? D is equal to list. Is D a type of list or not? No.
List.
Yes. So did I create an object of list or not with that? Is that object created?
Yes, ma'am.
So that means to create an object, we need to know the class name. If you know the class name, now I'm just writing one more class here, like just rectangle. I just wrote an empty class. I didn't write any statement inside that. As of now, it's an empty class. So whenever we don't want to write any code for a function, for a if block or a for loop block, we can use a skipping statement called pass. Okay, I wrote a class. This is user defined class now. I didn't write anything inside that. I'm trying to save this program as rectangle.py or okay something, and I'm just trying to come here, import rectangle.py, and now if I say r1 is equal to, this is what right now, is it a class name or is it a file name?
File name, ma'am.
Yes. So
We are
inside
importing.
that, yeah. So when I said dot, what did we get out of that? When
We
I'm
got a
in,
file.
inside the file, I'm going inside the file. What did we find inside the file?
Class.
Class. Let me write some more things. You'll understand with that. Okay. I'm saving this and I'm going here. I'm just trying to import this again. Okay. Now if I set rectangle dot, okay, I didn't restart it. If you have done some changes, we have to restart the software so that we can see the updations. Otherwise, updations won't be visible. Now I'll import the rectangle file. Sorry. Now if I say rectangle dot, whatever newly you added in that other than rectangle. Now we can see there is a variable in that file, there is a function in that file, and there is a class in that file. Let me write one more class. You'll understand the difference now. Okay. Now inside that also, let me say one more here. Length is 10, breadth is 5. Here, let me say, okay, side is equal to 6. Now you can see there are two more informations, but are they global informations or they are class informations?
Class informations, ma'am.
Fine. Now I'll just run the program. Now if I'm saying I'm able to see variable, function, global function, two classes, right? If I'm saying this, it's printed, it's printed. I'm calling this. Now I'm saying this. Now you should understand by this what did I mean to do here? What did I do exactly here? By writing this round brackets, what exactly we tried to do? Just like D1 is equal to list of brackets.
We changed its type.
No. When I write, this is a class, no? List is a class. When I use round brackets, what has
Acha, you
happened?
made it global data.
Objects. Objects.
Okay.
I created an object of list here. So this is a reference to which object?
D1
List of. D1 is a reference to which object?
list.
So if I say something like this, by this statement, which object I have created here?
56 is the object and N1 is the reference.
Yes, 56 is an int object. I can even create that int object like that also. Now, what is the type of this N2? Which type of object is it?
Int.
So that means objects can be created with the class name and round bracket, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So this is a class, and I'm saying rectangle dot. I'm getting some classes on the screen. If I'm saying this, it's a class name, no?
Yes, ma'am.
And if I say this, what has happened with that class? Okay, this is a class name, round bracket. If I write these two statements together, what did I achieve with that? Okay, by typing this, what has happened?
We have created an object.
Yes, object creation. So this statement has created an object of list type. This statement has created an object of int type. Similarly,
Object type.
this has created an object of which type?
Square type. Class type.
Square class type. So I can say something like this. Okay. So S1 is a reference of which class object?
Square.
Yes. So same way, can I say R1 is equal to rectangle? Okay, R1 is in reference of which object?
Rectangle.
Object. Now, if I simply say rectangle dot rectangle, is it an object or is it just a class name without round brackets? The first one is the file name.
It's a class.
Yeah, it's a class. Now, I try to go inside the class. What is found inside the class?
We find data.
Did we write any data inside the class?
Yes, ma'am.
These data are called as which data?
Local.
No, class data.
Class. Okay.
If you declare these data inside a function, then only we say local data.
Yes, ma'am.
So if you declare anything inside a class directly, those are called as which data?
Class data.
Class data. So now even if I say here length only, but this length is different, this length is different. This length is of which class?
Rectangle.
Yeah, this length is of which class?
Square.
So it's like square's length is how much? Rectangle's length is how? Word is same. Length is same. Word is same. But it's associated to different classes now.
Classes.
Fine. Now I'm just trying to rerun the program. And I'll just say from rectangle, import everything. Star. Now, do I have to say rectangle dot rectangle?
No, ma'am.
Directly, we can call everything of that file, no?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I want to create one object of which class now?
Rectangle.
And I've created an object of which class now?
Square.
Without these objects, if I say rectangle dot, is it object or is it a class?
Class.
So it's showing me which information?
The class list.
Sorry. Okay, same way if I say square dot, I'm not using round brackets, you can observe. So it's showing me all class data. So whenever you say class name dot, you will only visualize which kind of data?
Class data. Class
Class
list.
data. So same way, I want to write a function also. Display length. Okay, till here it's clear. Now this length is whose length?
Square's length.
So whenever you call any class data, you must call with which name?
Square.
Whether you're writing inside the class also, we have to use. We can't call just length. Whenever you have to call this data from any location, we have to use it with class name dot only. So now I'm rerunning the program and I'm just trying to import everything from this. From rectangle, import everything. Now I just want to say square dot. Now did I find both? The
Yes, ma'am.
variable and the function? I can
Yes, ma'am.
see the variable also directly. So it's a class variable or objects variable now. Is this variable called with the class name or with that round brackets, class name round brackets?
Just the class name, ma'am.
So this is a class variable. Fine, class property. Now, if I again say square dot, can I see display length function? Name of the
Yes.
function.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
is this function called with class name or with an object of a class?
Object of a class, ma'am.
How did I call this function? How to call a function? Function name and round brackets, no?
Yes, ma'am.
This round brackets belongs to what? This function. But how did we call this function?
With an class name.
Class name only. So this function is also which type kind of a function? Class function.
Function. Okay.
It belongs to a class. Now, the same way I can write here also display dimensions, let us say, which can print you both length of rectangle length. Again, I have to say, how should I call the
Rectangle.
length here? Rectangle
Rectangle
dot
dot.
length. Same way, rectangle's breadth should be because see, it's very specific. I'm not saying just length. I'm being very specific. Rectangle's breadth I have to call with. Okay. So this function also is a class function. These two variables also are the class
Class
variables.
variable.
So whenever we have to call it anywhere, I have to call them with what?
Class name.
Class names only. So let me just import everything from rectangle file. This is a file name or file is called as module basically. So rectangle module, I want to import everything. Then I can just call rectangle dot. Now manually I don't want to print. I have a solution to print the dimensions, sorry, on the screen. That is, I'm calling a function called. It is doing the job for us. So coding is done inside the class. We just have to call it. So we are calling the function. Same way, square class also has display, I think length. I have given this. So it's convenient, no? Anybody can just call the function and see the values, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That's it. Did I call with class names or directly I called?
You call directly.
So these are related to class or these are global information and global function?
Global, ma'am.
Right? Balaji, is that clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, tomorrow also again I'll repeat. It's not a problem. Now this is all about class concept. Now I'll just change a bit here. Same program, I'll write a little bit different. I'm not declaring a variable here. Instead, I'm defining a function to set dimensions. And I'm writing a keyword here, self comma, d1 comma, let me say length otherwise, and breadth. And here inside the function, I'm writing again the same keyword, self dot length is equal to length, self dot breadth is equal to breadth, and I want to write one more function. And before writing another function, I just want a confirmation method, dimensions of rectangle are set. And I want to write another function to do which operation? Display the dimension. Now it's taking one argument of which keyword? Self. For both the functions, I passed a general keyword self here, means object. Here, I'm just trying to display the rectangles. But I will display not with the class name. I'm calling with which keyword right now? Self keyword. Okay, so here also I will say self dot. Now I'm coming out of it. I'm just trying to save this program. Okay, run it. If I rerun it also, let us say importing statement from rectangle to I import everything. So rectangle, sorry. Now if I do the statement, what does it mean right now? What is R1 means?
It's creating a reference, ma'am. R1 is reference. It's creating an
Reference.
object.
Yes. So this is an object created of rectangle class, and this is a reference to newly created rectangle object. Now if I write it again, did I create one more new object of rectangle?
Yes, ma'am.
So two rectangle objects. If you want, you can check their identifications. Is it one object or two different objects?
Two different
Now I will say R1 dot. What is it showing to you now?
functions.
Fine.
Class
Now,
function. Yes.
yes. Now if is it class functions? Just check.
Acha. Norm. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I'm able to call it. Let us see. It's giving the argument. Means I have to pass how many arguments here?
3.
So 3 means some object. Here I don't have some 3 arguments. If I pass 2, it'll say
No, ma'am.
the
Error.
arguments are error. But now if I say R1 dot, now it's asking how many arguments?
2.
I'll talk about this tomorrow anyhow in detail. What did I get as an argument? The message is displayed.
Dimensions of rectangular set.
Now again if I say display dimensions, because we had a function, it's asking one argument minimum. If I don't pass, again it's saying
Error.
error. But if I say R1 dot display dimensions, it's not asking anything. We got the information. Means if I, let me say, I'll write one more. So now just I want to again put, I'm able to call this function. Let us see. Do I need any arguments here?
No, no, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Class name dot the function. It's getting executed. Check the difference. What is the difference between this function and this function? In this function, did we pass self as an argument?
No.
In this function, both the functions, did I pass self as the minimum argument?
In the top you have sent, and in the bottom you have not sent the
Yes,
self.
in these two functions, the beginning argument is self. But this one is not having any argument, not even self. So the functions without a self argument are called as class methods. This is a class method. So how do we call it? Directly with class name dot function name, right? But these functions which are with self keyword are called as what? Instance methods, are defined with at least which argument? Self as an argument. Other than that, you can pass any arguments. And this must be called with an object reference only. You can't call them with class name. You have to call with object references only. Means to call this function, can I call with class name or we have to create an object and call them? Because it needs to be called with someone, somebody, some object.
Yes, ma'am.
So
So we need to create first.
object. So here we are looking at an argument self. What is that self is? When I am creating an R1 rectangle object, you created a rectangle object. So R1 dot, when I'm saying something like display dimensions, this R1 is passing itself as an argument here. It becomes like R1 as an argument. As if I'm calling this function with which object now? Just think, if I have called this function like this, what argument I pass to it now? R1 object.
R1.
So just see the function. Does this function require some argument? Yes. Means it's using a self keyword. Means self means an object of its own data type. Self means it is present in which class? This keyword we have written inside which class? The self keyword is currently written inside which class?
Rectangle, ma'am.
Rectangle. So that means whenever somebody has to call this function, they have to pass which argument to it? A self object. Means which object? A rectangle object. Then they can call it. If you're calling this function, you have to pass an object of which type? A rectangle type. Then only we can call this. Let me call it and see. I'm trying to call rectangle dot, what is the function name? Display dimension. And what should I pass as an argument? Some object. Object of which type? Self type. Means object of which class? Rectangle. Do we have any objects here as of now? Did we create any rectangle objects?
R1.
I can call it in this way. This is okay. But generally, this will be wrong. I'll tell you tomorrow. So as of now, when I say something like this, no, like this. So what happens is, this is the object reference, no? It will pass itself as an argument to it. Because this function has to be called with an object. So that this function is trying to display whose information? That particular object's information only. So this function cannot be called on a class, only class. It has to be called on a object only. Because if you have a physical rectangle only, we'll have some physical dimensions to it. Without an object, we can't talk about dimensions. So inside the rectangle, that means a software, can I feed the length and the breadth? Or while we are dragging and dropping only, we have a dimension for it. So without a physical object, can you talk about length and the breadth?
Virtually, ma'am.
Virtually. Okay. Means if I say, if I have drawn some rectangles in this, you can understand that we have drawn some rectangles. That's the reason I can say it's some 5 centimeters, this is 3, we can tell that.
Mm.
If I don't have any rectangles drawn on this paint, can I say it's, can I talk about dimensions?
No, ma'am.
No. So that means whenever I talk about the object, only then we have to talk about what? Display
Object.
that object's dimensions. So displaying dimensions cannot be called on class because class does not have any dimensions. Dimensions will actually be applicable to what?
Object.
Objects only. So if you have an object only, this is meaningful. Otherwise, there is no meaning in this statement. What is rectangle's length? No. What is this rectangle's length? What is second rectangle's length? What is third rectangle's length? Right? So I think you got some 10% clarity at least. Okay. There is some information associated to object. There is some information associated to classes. At least that concept, because I'll continue tomorrow on this topic. Practically, I'll show the difference. You'll understand that. Okay.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Just for today, you only have to clear your mind with this concept that we can talk about two types of information inside a class. Inside a class, we can declare class variables and methods, and also instance variables and methods, instance methods. So those with self keyword are called as instance variable and instance methods. Those without these keywords are called as now class some test. Okay, some person, or like let's say card. If I say bank name is ICICI, just I'm writing here. So which kind of information is this? Now, how many types of information we can see here? One is bank name, one is
Card number.
fine.
Yes.
Yes. Display card number. You can see the functions how I'm writing here. You'll understand that. Okay. I'm not taking any argument because this is directly there inside the class. I can directly say bank name. But how, which bank name? You can see that now. Outside also, if I have to print directly also, I can say like this, or I can create a card object and then I can say C1 dot, or I can say card dot. It will display the name on the screen, or else I can say C1 dot set card details as some number. I'm just trying to pass a number, and C1 dot same way. Sorry. What is C1? You can understand in the first line. C1 dot display card number like this. At least some clarity. Today you go through this, you'll understand. You can try and execute this. You'll find the difference between the slight difference at least. And tomorrow I'll show you more practical examples on this. Is that clear, Balaji and Vinita, to some
Yes, ma'am.
extent?
Yes, ma'am.
But from now, practicals, if you're coming without practicals, I'll cancel the classes because after that it's impossible to explain.
Okay, ma'am.
It'll just go overhead like that. Concepts are easy, but you have to check it practically. So I'm telling you again and again, if you're not doing practicals of these today and show me the screenshot, tomorrow's cancel, I'll cancel only.
Okay, ma'am.
This one,
Right?
ma'am.
Yeah,
The
this
part.
one. You have to test it. You have to test the code of instance variable, global variable, local variable, class variable. Whatever I taught today, at least you should find the difference practically.
Okay, ma'am.
Check it
Okay.
and send me the screenshots first.
Okay.
Okay?
Sure.
Check. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.